Hello guys, welcome to the recap of the day one of Meltwater Champions Chess Tour, FTX Crypto Cup. Uh, this is the final major of the Champions Chess Tour. Why I say major? Because इस tournament को जो भी qualify करेगा, जो भी जीतेगा, will be directly qualified to the finals of this whole tour. And not only it has a big prize fund, but also there are a lot of things at stake which I already said एक तो final में खेलेंगे ऊपर से there is also a big incentive which is you also win some sort of cryptocurrency Bitcoin. Everybody gets a little bit, and of course the champions take a huge amount of it. So yeah, there are a lot of things to stake, and yeah, I picked few games of today. Let's try to go and have a look. So the first game I picked was our boy Anish Giri, who played a brilliant game against Alan Pishaw. I don't know whether अगर मैं उनका नाम सही pronounce कर रहा हूँ. I don't know Pishaw. So let's just say white. So he played E4, C5, very typical Sicilian. D4, CD, knight D4, knight F6. Usually यही खेलते हैं पर आज इन्होंने सोचा E5 खेलूं. Usually knight F6, knight C3, E5, knight B5, D6, bishop G5. Typically this is called Sveshnikov variation. और ये काफी लोग खेलते हैं. It's one of the most popular line in Sicilians after knight off. पर knight D4 E5 ये भी काफी खेला जा चुका है. And I remember around 8-10 साल पहले Nepomucci used to play this a lot. So it's not a bad opening, but it's just that little bit offbeat. और probably because Anish इतने low rated player के साथ खेल रहे थे compared to him, ऑलमोस्ट दोनों में कुछ वन मोर देन 150 पॉइंट का गैप होगा रेटिंग में. तो उन्होंने सोचा मे बी लेट्स टेक सम चांस एंड लेट्स प्ले सम ऑफ बीट ओपनिंग. Knight b5, d6, c4. Again, very logical. So the point here is both sides के लिए white is trying to get control over d5, whereas black wants to play on the dark square. क्योंकि c4 खेलने से all this squares got weakened. So black is trying to revolve its play around all these squares. Also later what black would want is maybe try to break this pawn mass, or try to undermine this pawn so that black को भी इतना ही कंट्रोल मिले d5 स्क्वायर को. अभी g6 खेला, knight c3, a6, pretty logical. Knight a3 is forced, bishop g7, knight c2. Now again, I've made a lot of errors. The point is, first of all, we want to play knight g7 and f5, or maybe f5 not right away, but later on, eventually that is the plan. Or what white is trying to do, he wants to play knight e3, and then knight comes to d5. Uh, so basically, what white wants again is the same thing, trying to control on d5 square, and black wants to either play b5 or f5, trying to undermine these two pawns so that he gets more control over d5 square. Black goes knight f6, bishop e2, castle, all pretty logical. Bishop e3, bishop e6, castles. And now Anish made a very nice move. He plays rook c8. The idea is very simple. He wants to protect this. So for example, now, he wants to attack this pawn. So, जैसे for example, if white अगर h3 खेलता है, what do we want? We simply move this knight. अभी it's not easy to protect this pawn. Bishop से attack है, rook से attack है, knight से attack है. So you can't really protect with a piece. If you play b3, now I have b5. The idea is again undermining the pawn chain. And plus, you cannot take this because c3 knight hangs. So, of course, Alan plays f3 now, protecting everything. And now if you go knight a5, white has some sort of knight d5 ideas, which is still playable for black, but white is doing fine here. But Anish plays knight h5, which is quite nice because after all, what we want is either we want to undermine this structure with b5 or f5, or just go for knight f4, to play on the dark square. The point is after knight f4, even if you take with the bishop and pawn takes, we have enough, juice over this diagonal. The bishop खुल जाएगा, dark squares और active हो जाएंगे. So basically knight h5, knight f4 is probably the best plan in this position. अभी knight d5 खेला. This move I could not understand. Bishop d5, black ने खेला तो सही, but I didn't really like it so much. My personal suggestion would be just to play knight f4. The idea is same. You cannot really take. You can take, but it doesn't really do anything. So takes. You take with the bishop. So I'll just go back, take your pawn, rook b1, bishop e5. Again, big decision in bishop se kya karna. Let's say if you take here. First of all, knight se I can take, of course. I mean, knight se if you take, this is just equal. Bishop c4. But I can also take with the pawn here. The point is now, first of all, this bishop is quite bad. This pawn is quite weak. And also I get all these dark squares. I can always take back this pawn with knight a5 and then capture this pawn. So structurally, black is doing quite well. So again, I would prefer black here. Or अगर knight f4 पे black white simply ignores that, then we can simply take on e2 and play f5 and basically play in a way of King's Indian. Just go in for the attack on the king side. Knight d5 पे Anish played knight d5 and again what his opponent did, which was queen d5, which is a big mistake. But sort of, वो balance out हो गया. Bishop d5 is not a good move, but queen d5 is even a worse move. Personally, cd5 I would prefer cd5. The point is after knight e7, no, we can just play a4. First of all, b5 हमने stop कर दिया. Next move we are threatening knight a3, knight c4, and we are sort of having a good King's Indian. And when black has this sort of structure, it's very important to have light square bishop. Okay, eventually how we want to make progress? You want to play f5, you want to play f4, then you want to play g5, you want to play then g4. पर अगर bishop ही नहीं रहेगा तो g4 करना it's very difficult to. And knight on h5 is little misplaced. So ideally I would take with the pawn. But probably Anish का idea हो सकता है knight d4 just to sacrifice this pawn. But the problem here is not really the problem. I mean, practically this is a good decision. But again, pawn is a pawn. But one very important thing to note here is if you put knight f4 here, अभी bishop f1 सीधे नहीं जाना. I mean, black was threatening mate in 1, so bishop f1 is a decent move, but not right now. Because now, after knight h3, king h1, we have knight f2, poking king and the queen. So first, what do we do here? First, we give a check after knight f4, king moves, then we play rook, bishop f1. And now white is just a pawn up. Although black has some combination. मैं ऐसा नहीं कह रहा कि white is winning or white is much better. White is slightly better because he is up pawn. For example, अगर rook c2 करता है तो we can just go g3. We are sort of threatening queen e3. So knight 2 has to move. And once the knight moves, we can try to play rook e2, trying to exchange this rook, and we are still pawn up. Or black still has to show okay, pawn गई तो क्यों गई. Structurally, black is okay, but pawn is a pawn. So according to me, white is still slightly better. But practically, black can still play this position. But Alan took with the queen here, which is obviously a mistake, and Anish played a very nice move. And starting from here, he made all the top moves. He played like a monster from this point on. Abhi queen d5 and knight d4 खेल में. Very nice move. The point is again, अगर आप knight d4 मारते हैं, so we can just take here. If you take, then we have knight f4. Forking again. Bishop मर रहा है, queen मर रहा है, so he cannot take this pawn. And if you go back, I'll just play queen b6. The idea is again very clear. ये x-ray है king पे, हम d3 खेलेंगे next move. So you have to do something about it. Bishop d3 खेल सकते हैं king h1. But whatever you do, let's say if you do bishop d3, rook c5 आएगा, and the queen is trapped again. So in any case, knight d4 पे you cannot really take. Alan chose a move which is decent, but still it's quite bad. So bishop d3, and now simply b5. Again undermining this and saying that के white अभी मार नहीं सकता because c2 knight is hanging because rook is on c8, knight on d4, so c2 knight is completely unprotected. If you take cb5, so and we are just threatening bc for ourselves. For example, if we try to try to play some move like let's say rook f2, but here we can simply take. Here you have to take. Abhi rook c5, and again queen is attacked. If queen moves, then we simply capture the bishop. So Alan just took here, thinking that it's going to be okay. At bishop g5, but queen b6 is simply probably just lost. Maybe rook c5 तो आ ही रहा है, and it's not easy to stop it. For example, अगर b4 कर सकते हैं to stop it, but here black is a very nice option. You just play h6. Abhi, the point is, if you go here, you simply play knight f6, trapping the queen. If you go here, you simply play knight f4, again forking to queen and the bishop. Actually, queen is also trapped here, which I didn't notice before. But yeah, piece is a piece, queen is hanging, black is doing very well. Coming back, cb5 was played, rook c5, queen b3. Now simply rook g5, and we are just up a piece. Alan did manage to resist a bit, but it's not easy task. The problem also with White's position is usually White will always get some play for the piece क्योंकि ये दो outside passer और a6 pawn तो काफी दूर तक गया हुआ है. But the problem is piece तो कम है पर he's also getting attacked. अब attack भी नहीं है, आप piece भी down हो तो it's very difficult to resist, which is what happened in the game. Bishop c4, rook g2, king h1, rook b2, rook b1, rook c2, rook c1, simply d3. Finally opening up this monster. Rook c2, bishop a1. Again, a nice touch. The point is now if you you have to move the rook, of course. Rook c1. The point is actually if you go here, I can simply play bishop c3. Oh, a7 I can even go d2 because d1 is a queen which cannot be stopped because this is protected. If bishop e2, the knight can simply take here. So rook c1 was played in the game. Now simply bishop d4, stopping this pawn once for all. Rook d1, bishop c5. White could have taken this pawn, but after rook a8, we just simply win this pawn and completely lost for white. White went h4, but basically white has been lost for like last 10 moves. So Anish just simply goes through his motion और आराम से मतलब जीत गया. After king e5, Alan simply resigned. Yeah, amazing game by Anish, especially after knight d4. All these tricks, trapping the queen, it's quite instructive. So that's the reason I picked this game. The second game I picked from day one is between Temur Ratchabu versus Peter Swidler. Again, two of my favorite players in this event. And the game was not that great. Game में इतना कुछ नहीं था, but there was a very nice tactics in the end, which I don't want you guys to miss. So let's proceed. Knight f3, knight f6, c4, c5. Again, fairly typical, which has been played many times by both the guys. e3, knight c3, dc3. This dc3 trend, normally क्या होता है यहाँ पे, you want to take with this pawn so that you come towards center and then you play d4, e4, all these sorts of moves. But DC3 का trend, Archego started few years back. He played against MVL in a World Cup and he managed to win that game. And later managed to win the World Cup as well. Queen C7 was also played by MVL. But you might ask, Queen से Queen मार के क्या होगा? Doesn't it look like very equal position? It does actually. अब जैसे E6, E4. The point here is we play King C2, we play Bishop E3, we play Knight D2 and we play A4. These are our next 4 moves. Probably not in that order, but you get the gist of it. And the problem with Black's position is, first of all, it lacks a little bit of space and he doesn't have any active play. For us, we can expand on both the sides, A4, A5, A6 maybe. After 92, we can play F3, G4, H4, H5. Or Black, जब भी started expanding on the king side, because on the queen side, you can never expand. जब king side पे he'll start expanding, तो he'll start creating more weaknesses. So that's the reason these days top players, avoid this kind of end games. So Queen C7 was played, which is quite decent. E4, again, Bishop Parastapula, E6, Bishop D3, very logical. Here, Bishop D7 was played in the game, which I mentioned before against MVL. Bishop E7 was played, and after E5, it is not easy to get rid of this space, just get rid of this pawn. For example, अगर knight इधर जाता है, you can simply play queen e2 or pawn. This pawn is आपके गले के अंदर है, this it feels like that. So that's the reason bishop d7 is better, because the point is after e5 you can simply play bishop c6, and now it's not easy to defend this pawn. For example, after bishop f4, knight d7, And again, we are threatening same bishop f3 and knight e5. And it's not at all easy to protect this pawn. And probably we can even go long castle after some move. So, uh, like after queen e2, we can even go long castle. Sometimes you can even take here and trying to force, white to take this, which is also possible, but simply long castle is also fine. So that's the reason bishop d7 was played. Okay, e5, in a way, we are sort of stopping e5 after queen d2. For queen d2 was played, and usual moves here is actually knight c6. Not here, but personally, I would say black usually goes knight c6 in such kind of positions. But here he goes for bishop c6. And here Rajavu went for queen f4, which was a little bit strange. I would personally go queen g5. The idea bishop f4, knight e5, trying to keep the pieces in and uh, try to just keep the queens on and try to play this position. Uh, I don't know why Raja didn't do it because it looks quite natural to me, to be very honest with you guys. Queen f4 was played again. Same logic है. Queen exchange करके we want to play the same thing. Knight d2 lying in knight c4, king d2, king d1, king c2, and then play on the both sides of the board. But the problem now is queen f4, bishop f4, knight is. But it's not a problem. White is still slightly better, but he didn't continue it well. The idea, I mean, the play should have been gone like a4. Rajavu went for long castle, but a4. Now again we can do the same thing. Knight d2, knight c4, and king d1, king c2, and again basically the same idea: f3, h4, g4, or basically expanding on both the sides and stopping b5. This is the most important point uh, for white. The problem after long castle is any move like of now or on the next move, b5 was quite strong. And once black, start expanding on the king side, sorry, on the queen side, white usually doesn't have any counterplay. So e5 was played, bishop c2, f6, e5 was played, knight b6. And now right from here, the game was, it was going here, jig just sort of जैसे चल रहा था कभी white better, कभी black better. For example, here white is fine, but white is not really better. Personally, again here bishop g3 was played. I felt bishop e4 was more, towards how to play this position. Because I think this bishop is doing a lot more than our bishop, and we should try to exchange. For example, abhi bishop e4, rook e4. Let's say if you go here, we simply go rook e1, e5, simply bishop e3. Now the point is, of course, rook h4 is not easy to protect this. You have to bring the king, and of course, rook g4 is always there. But the second point was, I can simply play knight h4. For example, is rook d7 go, I can just go knight h4. Now, not only we have knight f5 square, but we also have f4. So this would have been really good for white. But of course, bishop e4 पे मारना compulsory नहीं. You can just play bishop d5 and the game is round about even. क्योंकि अभी जाएगा मारेंगे, he'll take with the knight, bishop d2, and basically you get extra tempi and yeah, वो chess तो पूरा एक एक move पे होता है. तो yeah, basically black is again doing quite okay. So let's come back to the game. Bishop g3. I mean, it was not very interesting here or no here on. Of course, you should not, capture this because there is a move bishop f3, gf3, and then f5, and trying to trap this bishop with rook h8. But guys, remember this: अगर यहाँ पर direct f5 खेलते हैं तो it is actually blunder क्योंकि go knight e5, king g7, thinking oh piece मरने वाला है, but after knight c6, bc6, the other way around. Abhi white is already up 2 pawns. This bishop is attacked. Not only this bishop is attacked, this pawn on f5 is also attacked. और दोनों चीज एक साथ तो नहीं मतलब बचा सकता black. For example, अगर check भी देता है, तो we have this intermediate move f4. Again the same thing, bishop is attacked and pawn is attacked. So yeah, white is completely winning. So basically, bishop h7 को first we play bishop f3, and then we play f5. So of course bishop h7 is not possible. Raja went for bishop d1. Again, quite a normal move. Maybe he doesn't want black to take on c6. But black started taking over, Black started rerouting his bishop, which is very nice. Bishop h6 check. And it's not, again, easy for white to play this position. Because let's see, if you go here, because ideally you don't want to go king c2 and allow rook d to sort of check. पर अगर इधर भी जाता है ना तो there is always this sort of tricky business with sometimes with knight c4, sometimes you can just play. I can understand कि bishop h5 आ रहा है, पर even sometimes bishop e4, king और कोने पे भेजना, somehow it is not at all fun position for white to play. White went for f4, again block करना है इसको, bishop h5 तो आ ही रहा है. Black has knight d5, bishop h5, king g8. अभी white went for rook f1, but I feel मतलब rook f1 सही है, but rook e6 was possible, but I think it's just bad here now. Which simply we can take, and we have two bishops. Rook is quite active. If anybody is better, is black. Rook f1 was okay, a decent move. e5, and now here Raj set up a very clever trap. He went for rook d1. Now this white has only one threat actually, c4 खेलना है, and it is not at all easy to first of all parry this threat. But black has only one decent move, which is actually losing. You know what I mean? कि आपको normal move, आपको blunder मत करो, जैसे knight f4 पे तो रुक तो मर ही रहा है. But there is one decent move which actually loses the game. You can simply take ef4 here, which is fine. Knight f5, white करेगा fg3. The point is, if you go back, then I can just play f3. There are many moves, which is quite decent for black. So knight f5, fg, check, king हटाएंगे, hg3, and after rook d7 knight can move, and basically black is doing very well here. To be honest, rook d में सब move ठीक है, even some move like rook b8 is also fine. क्योंकि अभी knight f5 करेगा तो just we can take here. It's not a big deal. But Sudler went for rook f8, and I must say it was very alert. इतने कम time में ना you don't see such kind of unusual tactics. But Rajak was very very alert. He managed to spot it, and the tactics was rook d5. The point is if you take knight f5. And now why did I say कि rook f8 was the only bad move here? Because the point is rook और कहीं भी होता तो हमारे पास bishop f8 का square रहता, which would protect this square on e7. So what happens now is after knight f5, first of all we want to take this, ठीक है. उसके अलावा you want to play knight e7 and knight d5. So if bishop f8 अगर होता तो it would have protected both the bishops in one move. So after knight f5, bishop e6, knight h6, and yes, Fiddler simply resigned. Again, I showed this game basically because this tactics was quite amusing to me. It doesn't happen very often, and अगर Fiddler इसमें फंस सकते हैं तो कोई भी इसमें फंस सकता है. So again, a nice trick by Raja to open his account. The third game I want to show is very instructive game by MVL, who actually managed to win against Magnus. और ये गेम इसलिए भी दिखा रहा था कि Magnus is a guy who doesn't loses that many games. I mean, he's a great world champion, doesn't lose that many games, especially with white. और MVL showed कि why openings are one of the most important parts of the game these days. Let's see, e4, c5, knight c3, d6. Actually, इधर Magnus started a very nice trend with d4 here directly. Takes, queen d4, knight d6, queen d2, with the idea to go b3 next, bishop b2 and long castle, and then play on the king side, which actually picked on by many grandmasters, and White had a pretty decent result after this. But here, Carlsen made a move which is very unusual. Like, I have never seen this in my life. It goes for f3. f4 would have been nice. I'm decent, nice, but it's a move which has been played a lot. Like, it's called Grand Prix attack, but f3, I've never seen such kind of a move. Knight c6, bishop b5. So basically what white wants is to play some sort of English attack. For that he has to, get knight d2 and d4 in. The problem here, knight g2 अगर सीधा जाओगे, so black can, I think, play e5 and just, stop this. And you will ask, okay, f3 का क्या point was? So that's why Magnus first went bishop b5, g6, again, very logical to bring the bishop out. Bishop g7, d4, cd4, knight d4, bishop d7, bishop e3, knight f6. All very logical moves, guys. Both sides are developing their pieces. Queen d2, short castle, long castle. Now if I show you this position, you will not check a position आई कैसे. Nobody would be able to guess कि white ने third में f3 खेला था. But if you look closely, ये बहुत resemble करती है Sicilian dragon से. I'll show you an example. So let's say in the beginning, instead of knight c3, if you start, with a normal move order, we would get something very similar. But the point here is, and here, there is one major difference. Now you will see long castle, rook c8. Now knight d4 is coming, so Carlsen managed. I mean, he didn't have to, but bishop e2 is logical. But after a6, now you will realize, normally in lines, bishop comes when bishop is on c4. White usually puts on b3 so that first of all it protects everything, and mainly it protects his king on c1 because bishop पास में रहता है, protect the c2 pawn, and the king feels more safer कि bishop पास में. But now not only white is a move down क्योंकि एक move bishop b5 जाके bishop e2 आया, but bishop on e2 is not really doing so much. King b1 खेला game में, which is logical. आपको just to get out of this x-ray. b5 is again very logical as well. g4, knight d4, bishop d4, e5, bishop e3, b4, knight d5. Knight d5 काफी logical game था यहाँ तक. But here I didn't like Carlsen's decision. I would have preferred him to play this. Just because I understand this is not such a great move, but I still feel it should have been played. I mean, black has many options, queen c7, rook c6. But why I don't like the move Carlsen played was, अब ना e5 के बाद you can never, attack here. And you give a free hand to black. And secondly, whenever black plays e4, this bishop becomes a monster. So that for those reasons, e5 is like a very committal move. And it's not in style of Carlsen, I would say. Abhi, MVL went for e4 immediately, which is also a decent move. But I think f5 was a little better. And the point is, let's say whatever you play, let's say you go h3. I mean, just to illustrate the point, I would go f4, you go back. And I would do the same thing, but with my pawn on f3, which is even better than in the game. And probably MVL didn't play this because he was worried that ये b4 का pawn मर रहा है. But actually वो मर नहीं रहा. For example, after queen c7, I'm attacking this pawn. Abhi rook c1 you have to play. I mean, if you go queen d2 is more or less the same position. We go f4, then e4, and basically get this. Rook is in now. You have to do something about it. And after bishop d4, simply take here and bishop g4, and now you'll see the difference of f5, f4, f3. The pawn is already in f3. Next move probably हम queen g7 खेल सकते हैं. Queen exchange हो जाएगा तो of course pawn on f3 is a huge advantage for us. White could also play rook c1 here, and here there are a lot of beautiful lines. For example, abhi rook b8, queen d2 is forced. Of course, we have to open up this monster bishop attacking on b2. Bishop d4 is forced. Takes. This is forced again. fg4, and now bishop g4 is not forced. And if you cannot take this, and then of course black is better. He has more control over both the sides. He is attacking here, and he is up 2 pawns here. But what happens if you take? What happens is we take back. I mean, you have to take back the piece, and now there comes this beautiful rook b2. You have to take and rook b8. Now, whatever black does, whatever white does, there is a mate. Next move, let's say king a3, we have queen c5, with mate coming next after queen b4. And if you go king a1, we have queen c3 checkmate. So again, beautiful concept which was only possible once Carlsen took ed5. After ed5, e4 is also fine. fe, rook e8. Now actually game began in very conservative mode where black is slightly better, I feel. Rook e8 के बाद bishop d4 हुआ, rook e4. The problem for white is कि he cannot really control this pawn. He cannot really keep this pawn. For example, bishop d3 he would want to play, but bishop d3 या bishop f3. So first of all, queen f6 it's very tempting. You have to go queen c1. Second of all, मैं simply ये भी मार सकता हूँ. और ये bishop फिर it's still there. It's still a monster piece, and with white you haven't done anything about it. So Carlsen did a practical choice, which was ये bishop तो exchange कर लेते हैं. We'll see what happens later. Rook e4, bishop g7, king g7, h3. Again, to protect this pawn on g4, a5, rook f1, queen e7. Basically trying to, take control over the dark squares. Rook e5 is a normal move. And again, you cannot really protect this pawn. I mean, how do we protect it? The bishop doesn't have too many squares to move. And let's say even if you go queen something like queen g2, it looks very ugly. I mean, I can even just start pushing this side. Actually, main problem ये है कि white का कोई काउंटर प्ले नहीं है और सिसिलियंस जैसी ओपनिंग्स में अगर white को कोई काउंटर प्ले नहीं होता तो it gets very difficult to survive. Uh, Carlsen just decided to give up a pawn, and yeah, after this, uh, Washia managed to win this game quite smoothly. For example, managed to exchange the rook. Another rook is going to get exchanged. Now he tries to bring his queen, brings the queen in. There was one trap here. You should take this. I can just play queen f6, and this is a perpetual. But of course, MBL sees this. He goes h5. Queen f1, and the trap is still on, guys. I mean, you would think here the h5 के बाद अगर मैं ये मारूंगा, let's say here if I take, अब तो escape square खुल गया, तो what was the trap? But now you take here, come here, king f8. I can even play queen f6 check, but this is also a draw. And now just gives perpetual. But of course, MPL is aware of that. He just goes bishop d5. He plays very smoothly, very calmly. He brings his king in, centralizes queen again, and now he doesn't see any pass, so exchanges the queen and gets this passer. Queen d1, f4, queen h5, check, and basically he's just queening into a couple of moves. And here Carlsen simply resigned because he cannot stop the queen. So quite an instructive game by MVL, I must say. And what I really like about this game is this e4 kind of a shot. And what I don't really like about Carlsen play was when he took ed5. I mean, good or bad, you have to take with the queen. And yeah, I mean, what MVL did in this game was quite instructive. Also in the sense that जो opening हुई, he could navigate कि शायद मैं इस ड्रैगन टाइप की पोजीशन में जाऊंगा तो it will be advantageous for me, which is not easy thing to do. So our final game of the day is Mamedario versus Caruana. Again, two of the favorite, at least Caruana, who has not played actually in this series for a long time. So I believe it is his debut. और Caruana और Carlsen जब भी कोई इवेंट खेलते हैं तो it is always a big event and they are always a superstar. So decided to include this game just because of another super move, which is you don't want to miss. This simply is some sort of King's Indian attack, and but actually White is getting everything what he wants. Or Bishop d6 is the move I never like in such kind of position. I mean, Bishop either belongs to this square or to this square. I mean, I can understand Bishop c5 ke baad there are some tricks with d4, knight e5, but Bishop never belongs to d6. Bishop d6, d4. But the problem is with black, okay, you actually want to maintain the tension. You don't want to take it. You want to let white take this. But the problem is, nah, if you let white take this, if you take with the knight, then this knight can move somewhere and bishop, can take on d5 later on. That's what black had to take. And now you will see slowly the slow grind. Knight c4 comes and this useless bishop is just like a big pawn here. 6, rook d1, queen e7. And now, yeah, the typical plan. The knight goes to h4 with the idea knight f5, bishop f5, ef5, rook f8. Now here comes the moment of truth. Ideally, what do you want to do in this position? Ideally, what we want here is कि bishop को निकालो, then rooks will be connected and our development will be over, right? This is quite logical way to proceed in this position. But what Mamedario did here was goes knight d2. First of all, why it is such a difficult move is The knight was anyway well placed on c4, and he would have had advantage anyway without playing this move. So that's for those reasons I feel it is not an easy move to find. Once you see it, it gets very natural. Knight of e4 pair and next, then you can do all those things, but with knight on e4. Knight f6, of course, to stop this knight. Took d8, and now we simply, knight has done his job. We simply take the bishop. We get two bishops, and yeah, white is just cruising here. The finish is also quite good actually. If you really want to improve, your technical play, this is the game. This is the game from today's, of all the games of today of this round. This is, for me, this is actually the game of the day where white just outplayed black. Bishop f4, queen d7, rook e1. Again, two pawns are attacked. You have to protect one of them. The pin, but it doesn't really matter. He just plays f3, and yeah, the pin is not really doing anything. So black ne just mara, he got for f6. King f2 again, very calmly, all these guys plays very calm chess. They don't, hurry too much. Rook d8, because I feel white was threatening here, queen d5 check. And if you take here, I would just take here and trying to, exchange as many pieces uh, as he can. Because the point is, जब भी आप pawns ज़्यादा होती है, जब भी आपके पास pawn एक दो pawn ज़्यादा होता है, तो it's better to exchange pieces so that you liquidate into king pawn endgame where it is easier to play. Whereas if you just calculate, you'll be just be able to win the game. So rook d8 was played to stop queen d5. But again, Medvedev showed his class and plays rook e2. And what's the point? The point is simply rook d2 to exchange more pieces. And yeah, Caruana just didn't have anything to do here. I mean, he just played knight e5. I mean, he's basically simply lost here. Knight e5 take the queen, and king d3. The idea is very simple. You want to play rook d2. So Caruana tried to confuse things a little bit, but it was just in vain. h5 khela, we just rook d5. Simply take the pawn. King f7. Rest of the game is just a complete masterclass from Amadeyaru. Rook c4, rook a6, a4, king f4, king f7, and now simply once you stop this pawn, once you put your rook behind this pawn, now you don't have to worry about this pawn. अब हम अपना king side में खेल सकते हैं आराम से. h3, g4, g5, g6, rook a7, king f8, e5, or simply Caruana resigned here. क्योंकि अभी next move f6 and rook f8, it's simply unstoppable. You can start giving some checks, but it doesn't really matter. I mean, I can take here, I can play e6. It's just too much. So Caruana's, I mean, he just resigned because, of course, he's completely lost. So this was a recap of round one, and after round one, our good friend Anish Giri is leading with 4 points, 4 out of 5, followed by Hikaru Nakamura, MVL, so Wesley. All of them are on 3.5 out of 5, and everything to play for, guys, tomorrow. And I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye bye.